Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. Oh, it's Monday morning. It's very gray outside, and I am surprised because it's supposed to be, mid 80s and not too humid. So, could be the weather that's moving in, and we weren't supposed to get hit by it, but we'll see. So, what did I read last week? I didn't have any DNFs. I did a lot of reading, but I didn't do. It wasn't many things. It was, thick. And before I get into what I read, for all of you that are new here, welcome. I'm so glad you found me. If you are participating in book club, I look forward to you joining us. The announcement video will come out on Saturday of this week, and I hope you all participate. And today is a very good example of my broad scope of reading. So this will not be an unusual video. So if you're wondering, there you go. So what did I read? The first thing I read was The Nature of a Lady by Roseanne M. White. This is the first book in the Secrets of the Isle series. I read this with Amanda over at Book Club for Amanda. I absolutely loved this book. I cannot wait to read the next two in the series. They're sitting on my shelf waiting for me. I loved the faith in this book. I loved the characters in this book, the setting, the use of Cornish as a language. There was absolutely nothing about this book that did not work for me. I thought the faith was beautiful and the descriptions were beautiful, and I loved all of the characters. The explanation of how science and faith are not at odds is fantastic. And yes, it does talk about evolution, and it does talk about Darwin. And I think it's important to remember that God knows us when we are still in our mother's womb, which means he knew Charles Darwin and he knew what was coming. And yet Charles Darwin became Charles Darwin. And I don't think you can have faith in God and the beauty of his creation and discount Darwin in his entirety, because Darwin is part of God's creation. And this book does a very beautiful job of explaining faith and science as companions in the walk of life. One does not exclude the other, and it is lovely. I loved the romance. I loved the side characters. And I, in particular, I loved how our main character, Libby, finds her own voice throughout the story. She doesn't start off as an incredibly strong female character. She doesn't start off with, this is who I am and love me how I am or don't bother. She starts off very compliant and willing to sacrifice herself for everyone else. And by the end, she's like, you know what? My name is Libby, and I am going to make choices that work for me, even if it means I, lose everything else. I need to be me. And I now have faith in God. And I now, understand that God and science are not in competition. This was truly just a beautiful book, and I cannot recommend it enough. And it is also a very good tale about how just because one book by an author doesn't work with you does not mean you need to completely write off the author. This was my second book by Rosanna, and the first book did not work for me at all, as you know, last week's video, but this one totally did, and I am very thankful. I picked it up and read it. I had a lovely time reading it with Amanda, and that was just a truly wonderful buddy reading experience. So, what else did I read this week? Finished another Dave book. Woohoo! That would be Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. This is the first book in the Expanse series, and it is science fiction, obviously. I have watched the series on Amazon. I watched it years ago, so it's not like super fresh in my memory. I loved this book. It is very different than Rosanna's book, but I still loved this book. It is a dual point of view telling. I don't want to talk in depth because it would be spoilers. But you're following a starship captain. He doesn't start out as a captain. And you're following a detective. And none of it takes place on Earth. And there are space battles, and there's political drama, and there's a mystery woven throughout, and you are just, constantly compelled forward to read the next chapter. The chapters aren't overly long. The story is fast-paced. They do swear. It's not like one or two swear words. There is more swearing than I thought needed to be in there, but the swearing isn't random. It occurs in places that make sense for swearing. But I loved this book. I really I cannot wait to pick up book 2. Obviously, it's going to wait till I finish Dave's challenge, but it is fast-paced. It is intense. It is dramatic. There's politics. There's mystery. There's social interaction. It is space opera science fiction at its finest, and I cannot say enough good things about it. If you are, probably wouldn't say if you're new to science fiction, this would be a great start. But it is not what I would classify as hard sci-fi. It is not, there is sciencey stuff, but it's not overly complicated sciencey stuff. So yeah, it's well worth the read. Cannot wait to read book 2. It will just be a joy to pick up book 2. So maybe if I get it all done by August, I can read book 2, during August. That would be fantastic. Okay, so what am I currently reading? I am currently reading, let's see. I am currently listening to A Lady's Guide to Scandal by Sophie Irwin. This is from my library. This is a recommendation from Amanda over at Book Lover Amanda. I just started it and I'm like 7 chapters in. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I will undoubtedly finish it this week. It is funny and okay. I will admit, first 7 chapters, our female protagonist has self-esteem issues and she is a little wishy-washy. However, I am assuming she finds her feet. So I'm giving it a chance. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. It's not like it's a struggle. So yeah, I have no problems reading that for listening to that for the rest of the week. It's fabulous. It's truly fabulous. Okay. I did start this weekend Boudica by Amanda Scott. This is the first book in the Boudica series. This is Dreaming the Eagle. And I am 100 odd pages in. 66. Sorry about that. I'm 66 pages in. And this is very good. This starts off in a gut-wrenching emotional scene, and her name in the beginning of the book is Braca. She's not yet Boudica of fame, and she's 12, and her village is attacked, and the raiders attack her mother, who is in the process of birthing her newest sibling, and they kill her mother. And Brecca grabs a spear and kills the men who kill her mother and her unborn sibling. It was gut-wrenching. It was well written. It wasn't, I am loving this read so far. It is one of those take your time and savor the story as it pours forward, because it is so well done and so it's going to sound weird, but it's so intimate. She's still a young child. Her siblings are growing up, and she's grieving the loss of her mother, and she's trying to find her feet and her way forward in life. And it's just this very beautifully intimate picture of what it would be like to grow up in 32 AD Britain. I know there are hard things to come, and yet this is something, I pick up. I've picked it up every time this weekend when I, needed a break from whatever I was doing, or I just wanted some quiet time to myself. I picked this up and loved every word of it. So we will see if I finish it this week. I can't imagine that I won't once the action starts to pick up a little bit more. Time will tell. So what else might I read this week? Oh, continuing on the let's read Dave stuff. Not that it's a, great burden. Either of these is possible. The Fate of the Dwarves by Marcus Heights. This is book 4 in the Dwarves series. There is a book 5, which is The Triumph of the Dwarves. I do not yet own it. I need to pick it up, and this one is a mere 752 pages. Luckily, these read not quickly, but they're not slow reads either, so it is possible if I pick it up and read it. And the other possible choice is The Magic Engineer by L.A. Modesty, the Jr. This is third book in the Saga of Recluse series, and this one is just over 500 pages. Yeah, it's just over 500 pages. I know these read quickly for me, and the chapters are short, so they're easy to pick up, knock out 10, 15 chapters, put it down, go do something else. So either of those are possible, as is, picking up Tales from Earthsea and reading that. We shall see. I don't know what my brain wants to read right now. I think it wants to read something funny after A Lady's Guide to Scandal. So we'll see. Maybe I'll pick up a digital book. I haven't picked up one in a while, so I don't know. What did you read last week? What are you looking forward to reading this week? Leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.